I wonder if those of you with children or grandchildren have favourites. Now, as a father, I've always told each of my children that the other one is the favourite. It's become one of those ongoing family jokes. In truth, I can honestly say I don't have a favourite. We've seen how that can cause issues and have always sought to treat them exactly the same. That is, of course, not always easy. Now, as the church grew in its early days, there were grumbles that some sections of the community weren't being treated as well as others. It sounds as though the Hebraic Jews were favouring their own over the Hellenistics. It looks to me as though the apostles perhaps had favourites and, acknowledging their shortcomings, wanted to address it. Have another read of that passage and see how they realised the need to get the word spread and assistance given, but how placing all of that responsibility onto just a few shoulders meant that shortcuts were being taken that were, well, counterproductive. Clearly, it's time for a segregation of duties. There will be two teams from now on, a prayer team and a practical team. It's important to note here that this is not an A team and a B team. This is just two teams. This practical team will be made up of 7 followers who have the right skill set to get the job done. Now, being of rather short stature, I'm not a fan of being involved in any group of 7, just in case someone starts singing hi-ho. But beyond that, I see this as a very honoured place that these 7 have been placed in. So where do you see yourself? Are you one of the apostles? Are you one of the priests? Are you one of the 7? Or are you perhaps a multitasker? Well, I know I don't count as one of the priests in this reading. That's because this title here relates to the Levites, the priests who were descendants of Levi and the tribe tasked with teaching the truth to the people. Where it says a large number of priests became obedient to the faith, it is saying that many trained teachers recognized in Jesus the truth of his divinity and started teaching this gospel rather than what we would now call Judaism. This is the establishment, or part of it at least, accepting Jesus. So that's priests, not one of those, which leaves apostles and, well, the Magnificent 7. Now, the second name on this list of the 7 was Philip. We looked at him last week. He was one of those that were chosen, and he went on to do so much that we read about last week. Now, the apostles chose these 7 to give them responsibility for the practical work of the group. The apostles would do the praying and the spiritual stuff, but hand over the practical ministry to these others. I wonder if Philip ended up doing different things than he was expected to by the apostles. I wonder that about us, and not just Philip. In order to get selected for this team, the person had to be of good spiritual standing. I think it's really important to see that this work they were doing was fundamentally about the Spirit. And it's not just about the work. It was then, and I think it is still today, really important that whatever we do is always because of what we believe. And if we ever forget the why, then we lose the purpose of the what. Perhaps it was the intention of the apostles, concentrating on prayer, would surround the 7 with spiritual direction. Do you have someone surrounding you with spiritual direction? Is there someone that you are surrounding with spiritual direction? You see, it is my belief that although there were originally 2 teams, the prayers and the doers, today these have moulded into a much more fluid arrangement. If you are a doer, then you're still able to pray. If you pray, you are still able to do. In fact, I don't see how we can be complete unless we take part in both teams. Today is Father's Day. For the chaps in our congregation, we've dropped off a little something extra for you today. We want you to celebrate this day. So, there are some celebrations. And we want to recognise that you are a really important part in all that goes on in church life. You are like one of the Magnificent 7. So there's a can of 7-Up as well. Enjoy the refreshment and the other bits in there. So to you guys with the treats, and to all you others out there, I urge you to try and see how you yourself can be one of those 7. Someone who is filled with the Spirit and set apart to do great works for the kingdom. Whether you see yourself as one who prays or as one who does, I think you can do both. If you ever feel short of power, energy, or any resources to do that, well, trust in God, because he giveth and giveth and giveth again, which sort of sounds like a cue for a song. God bless you.